like any pre-season, a huge build-up over months. Do you notice a shift with the players now that we're just so close to that round one, or a change in their attitude or excitement level?
I always notice a change every year, but I think this year in particular, post the difficulty of the last 2 years, everyone around our club is just so excited to get back to some level of normality and get to share our excitement with our supporters and our members who have been deprived of the opportunity to watch our boys in action for a long period of time. I think even more broadly, there's just a sense of excitement around the whole country, I think, that footy's back. In particular in Victoria, I think it's a great initiative that the Victorian teams are playing each other this week. We should get huge crowds. I know sports sort of dribbled back sort of over the last 6 months or so, but nothing can replace AFL footy. So, even taking off my Geelong hat for a second, I mean, I just can't wait to watch the footy tonight. And then, to think that they're going to back up with a big game Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday 2:10 at the MCG, it sort of makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. So I hope our supporters are feeling the same way. We're pushing really hard to do everything we can to repay those that stuck by us over the last 2 years, because they didn't have to, but they chose to show their support for the Geelong Footy Club, and we're just going to be going all out to repay them as best we can.
And the selection queries this week. Mitch Duncan, how's he looking? Do you expect him to play on Saturday?
No, we're going to hold Mitch back. So that was a difficult decision for us, because Mitch has been moving well the last couple of weeks, but we're going to play the long game with a few of our really good players this week. So Mitch is part of a group that are all short term. We expect to have them back really soon, but we're going to be a bit more conservative with them going into the season. So that includes Mark O'Connor, Sam Menegola, Jed Buse, Mitch Duncan. There might be one or two others, but on the flip side, the really good news for us, the exciting thing, or one of the exciting things going into Saturday's game, is that Sam De Koning will play as a young player. He's played AFL footy before, but not much. Tyson Stengel will make his debut for us. Max Holmes will play, another young player we've got a lot of confidence in and high hopes for in the future. Asava Radagalia. But I think it sort of points to our future a little bit, that Sam De Koning will be the key back at one end, and Asava Radagalia will be the key forward at the other end. There's a bit to look forward to, besides the obvious of our experienced players who, with the exception of the guys that I mentioned that won't play, our experienced players are in really good shape, and it's a credit to our whole performance team in particular that they've got those guys raring to go, and got us all optimistic about what we can do this year.
And Jed Buse, how close was he?
Well, I can't really explain it that well, because it's a concussion protocol issue, which I don't understand perfectly, because I can't have any influence over it. So that's just a really simple decision from a coaching perspective, that the doctor says he won't make it because the protocol won't allow for it, and the conversations onto other subjects after that.
And Stengel coming back in, I know he's played pre-season, but that must be exciting for fans to have sort of like a fairly new look forward line. Yeah,
the one that I left out of that group that's not playing is Brian Myers. So we'd love to have him available. He won't be too far off at all. In fact, you'll see some training. All the guys I mentioned will be moving really well at training. So that's a pointer to how quickly we expect to have them back. But the silver lining there is that Tyson comes into our team and gives us something a little bit different. It's probably unfair to lump him in with our other smaller running forwards. He's got some unique skills separate to those guys, and he's a great story as well. I think AFL footy generally does a great job of providing second chances for players and people. And he hasn't put a foot wrong this pre-season. We didn't bring him in on a guarantee that he would be in our team. He had to train and play and perform his way into our 22 for round one. He's done that really well.
And just last minute selection, Jack Henry and Tom Stewart both been in the back line, I assume?
Yeah, they will, yeah. So Tom Stewart's flying, has been all pre-season. So that was easy. Jack Henry had a foot issue around Christmas that required minor surgery, but hasn't put a foot wrong since then. So he's had some match practice and he's more than ready to go.
Does Henry slot more into that sort of third, fourth tall? After he played a fair bit as a key back last year, now you got DeConning in there obviously. I assume Blitzell is going to play down back mostly. Is Henry going to float in as that third, fourth tall instead of being sort of the main 1 or 2? Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see the way that you assess it, Josh, because I could explain the way we think about it, but overall, well, we don't think about it in terms of number 1, 2, 3, 4, and the game evolves depending on how the ball's coming in and what the opposition forward line looks like. So in principle, what we're trying to do is get a group of players, and you can put Zach Toohey and Tom Stewart in that boat too, who can play tall, who can mix and match pretty well. We think that the style that we play suits those flexible players. So I think Jack's just as effective on smalls as he is on talls, but hopefully that goes for a few of our defenders.
And similar to Zach Guthrie, is he going to be playing on Saturday? He's had a pretty good pre-season from what I can gather.
Yeah, he's really played his way into our team as well, so he'll play. Really excited with the way he's developed with his game, but physically, he has, to my eye at least, gone from a slightly immature physical specimen to a real man ready for hardened AFL footy.
On Mark O'Connor's knee, has he had a setback, or has it taken longer than you expected for him to get right? It seems like it's sort of just been a bit stagnant the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's just been frustrating because it's not a competition in the way we set up our pre-season, but if it were, he would have been pretty close to leading the pack. He was going really well. He's just had an acute issue with his knee. It's sort of a tendon issue that we don't think is going to be long-term at all, and he's certainly turned the corner with his training now, but just the timing of that 2 or 3 week layoff meant that we thought it was prudent just to hold him back a week.
And obviously the big guys have been looking pretty good over pre-season. How much have you seen Jeremy and Tom working together, and what are you expecting, given they obviously handed at the start of last season by injuries at the very start?
I'm not going to speak too soon, Josh, because I think at this press conference 12 months ago we were expecting Jeremy to play and something happened in the last couple of days. But what we've seen at trainings got us enthused. And we don't want to be a team that relies on a few players, or only. But I don't think there's any reason to run away from the fact that if Hawkins and Cameron combine really well, that should make us a difficult team to beat. So we've put a lot of work into maximising what those two can bring.
He floated down there a little bit over the 2 practice matches from what I saw. Is Dangerfield going to spend a little bit less time forward, do you think, this year? How do you sort of approach him? Are you going to play more midfield minutes? Yeah,
that's our intention. The last couple of years, as you know, I don't sort of tend to give a running commentary as to the sort of physical status of our guys, but I'm optimistic that he will have a better year this year than he's had the last 2 years, just because of his physical status. So we have played him more forward previously because of where he's been at with his body, and we don't see that need as much this year as we have in the past.
And one of the guys who played a lot of minutes in the pre-season matches, Cooper Stephens, is he far away from debut, do you think? Is he sort of in the mix, or is he sort of step back from that?
No, he's in the mix. We've got a group of players that we think can force their way into our team sort of over the course of the year. The real challenge that I think is hard for others to assess on the outside is just the limited exposure that the draftees from the last 2 years have had to consistent VFL level footy. Cooper, was a real victim of the fact we were up in a hub in Queensland with virtually no games available, and last year was really uninterrupted as well. But he's one of a group that's had a super pre-season, and finally will get his chance to put together some nice body of work at VFL level to really push his case. It's hard to with first and second year players in particular, to have to bring them in on training form. They deserve to have VFL footy, which is really, when you think about it, is a fair step up from TAC Cup footy in and of itself.
Yeah. What have you seen from Essendon? What are you expecting from them on Saturday?
Well, I think they're really... I've got a lot of admiration for the way that they're coached. Well, we've only really seen a full year of Ben Rutten and Blake Caracella together, and I know Blake well and have a lot of respect for his footy intellect, so it'll be difficult for us to poke holes in their system. I don't think we're seeing anything from them that we consider to be a great vulnerability, which in a way is good, because we know we just have to go out and play our game and just keep beating them as often as we can in contests, as opposed to outthinking them or playing a better system. It's probably a better mindset to be in than thinking that we're smarter than the next guy.